Hey guys, today I'm doing something different. I read a book. Normally I don't read books because I'm too stupid to read books, but yeah. The Price of Survival. A book about the bomb on Hiroshima. And almost 100,000 people dying, and not only the first generation but also the second generation. The strong part about this book is actually that it's about the struggle of women. And why specifically the struggle of women? Because apparently they have much more problems with it than men. While men still had the possibility of procreating, the first thing that would take effect, would be affected by cancer would be their uterus or their womb, and that meant that a lot of women still had problems a long time after the bomb. It's actually comprised in 3 sections. The first generation, the second generation, and then the part about the women's struggle. And the first generation is mostly about the idea of finding dead people. The idea of running 5 miles away from where you live to go to safety and then still dying afterwards, because you can't run away from something like that. When it hits you the first time, you will die. The story is about people flying away from an explosion and then running back to find their house, and then finding the skeletons of their children and their husbands. Or the story about people still in the movement, getting petrified in the movement they have. It's super strong, it's super heavy, and it's important to. This last weekend I had a conversation with somebody who said it was not so bad, and if it can be a last resort, way of solving a war. But if you just kill 100,000 people, I don't know if it's worth the hassle, if I can say it that way. I think that was actually a good opening, but the second part was even harder, because you have some cultural effects it has on women, because in Belgium it's not that important anymore, but in the times of 1945, getting married was super important. And
Van wie is die in dweil hier?
wat is?
Van wie is die in dweil?
Van mij.
Je moet stil zijn, hij is aan het volgen. Oei.
Specifically about getting married, because if you don't see it on the outside, it's still on the inside, and if people get radiated, there's a big chance that they will never completely survive. Also for getting children, the chance of noemt dat nu weer miskraam in het Engels?
Miscarriage.
Miscarriage. The chance of miscarriage is multiplied by 10, 20 times. The firstborn is always even 10 years or 20 years after the bomb. And that's not everything, because the second generation of children still had problems with cancer, with leukemia. They would call it the radiation disease. And it sounds super stupid in these days to call it radiation disease. We now know it's cancer. We now know that the turning of the moment your hair turns brown, that you're completely that you have skin cancer, that you're about to die. And it's so bad to completely see your family die, but you as a woman not even finding a place for rest after 50, 60 years, because you still have the stigmata of being born in Fukushima. I think it's also very important to understand that the moment that the world really goes bad, the moment that life really goes to a bad place, that there are still people fighting for a good cause. The women movement in Japan really made a big difference. The banning of the atomic bomb, the way that the government treated people who survived the bomb. It was the women movement who really took a big part in pulling it forward, because they had so much trouble. There's a very, very heavy dat iemand uitlegt wat hem aan het doen is. Dat wat hem had meegemaakt.
Een testimony.
Ja, there's also a very big testimony about a person going to health welfare, to the welfare of their country, and the person behind the desk saying, you are so lucky that you can finally just live without needing to work because you had the atomic bomb. And the person just getting mad because she never had a way to let out the steam shed inside her, the anger. And the person who probably was just making a joke or something didn't understand the gravitas of the problem she was in. And now we can really not forget parts like this because it's so horrific to know. We can also not forget how large the impact is, not only for the military goals that they want to achieve, but for innocent peoples, and not only for that while the war is happening, but for the next 100 years. So it's impossible to now at the moment figure out how big it is. The idea that you can't drink the water anymore, you can't live on the land anymore. You completely ruin a whole place, and it's not words. It's never words to kill so many innocent people for a war. A war is something you fight because of prestige, about culture, but it's not worth to. I think the intrinsieke ding als, wat is dat nu weer?
Intrinsic?
Intrinsic, okay. It's not worth the intrinsic value of human life. If you can write it, it's in Dutch. People who read Dutch can also always ask me the book. It's fucking amazing. They also have it at the UGent, in their library. The pictures, there are not a lot of drawings. At the beginning, there are a lot of drawings of people who talk about what they saw. It's a little bit scary, but it's alright. In the end, we see the pictures, and we understand. I mean, now we can see it. We can try to relativate it, but